We have a special guest, one of my best friends, a guy who I, admire, as his play on the field, but more than anything, I admire his work off the field. What he does in the community and the way he was raised. I love his family. He's number 39 in your programs, number one in your heart, one of the best running backs in the National Football League, Steven Jackson. Welcome to the show, Steven. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Matt. What's going on with you?
Oh man, you know me, baby. Just enjoying life, slow motion, baby. Slow motion, slow motion. So tell me this: how you enjoying your off season so far?
I'm enjoying it. I'm doing right now. Just doing a little relaxing in Las Vegas, back home with the family. It's spring break for my boys, so we just hanging, man. Teaching them how to play some baseball right now.
Okay, man. Yeah, baseball's where it's at, man. They don't want them feeling like daddy, man, because hey, baseball is that guaranteed cash, baby. But and like I said, I know you well, so I know you love to travel. So tell us, where have you been this off season? Because every year I talk to you, the first thing I say to you is, what part of the world are you at? So tell us a little bit about where you've been this off season with your travels.
Yeah, so far this year, I've been to China, Japan, and Hong Kong. Spent a majority of my time in China, touring the country extensively, from Beijing to Shanghai to Xi'an, and so doing all these things, people always ask me, "What are you doing exactly?" So I typically hit up, the typical things like the Great Wall of China, but as well as I do a little exotic things as well. And this animal that I spent some time with this year was a panda bear. Learning about it, hanging out with it, feeding it. And you know what? They even got me to clean the cage, and that wasn't the best part of the trip, but it was something I did.
I bet that. Now, when you said hanging out with the panda bear, it's like y'all was probably at a club or something. When you said hanging out with the panda bear and everything, but tell me this: with all that, with that, with what what struck your interest in the travel? I know you have, God has blessed you enough to be able to afford these things, but really, like in your mind, like is this something that you want to do from a young age, or I mean, you've been all over the world, and just let me know what makes you want to do these things, just experience new things. Say you've done this. I mean, what do you get out of it?
Man, that's a great question. I started doing it for just a way to get away. Typically, when you travel in the U.S., you still get recognized, and you can't really enjoy yourself and just be yourself, so to speak, let your hair down. And when I started getting away, I realized not only did it bring me tranquility, but it allows me to learn about different cultures, get to meet new people. And as I just kept doing it, I started venturing further away from the country. I started out, in the Caribbean, and then I made my way to Africa, and then from there, it just turned into this thing that I do yearly in the off season.
Okay, now you've been everywhere. Now tell me, what is your favorite place you've been so far, and why?
Well, that's a tough question. It'd probably be for like what I'm looking for in the travel. If it's like beaches, I would say some of the beaches in Australia, some of the best I've been to, as well as the British colony down there in the Virgin Islands. I mean, it's hard. As far as like top 5 cities, I would definitely have to put Cape Town as one, Rome, Sydney, Australia. So I mean, I could go on and on. I could take up this whole interview just talking about travel.
I mean, you've been to every continent except for, Antarctica, and I'm sure you looked into it to see if there's a way you can get down there, So I know, like I said, I know how much you like that, and I know, a lot of the charity work you did, especially dealing with the breast cancer. I remember those things in St. Louis. It was a real big thing, and like I was saying earlier about your mother and how beautiful a woman in person she is. And just tell me the influence she's had on your life, because I know I've been around this lady, and she is just an awesome person. Her, your sisters, your pops, I mean, everybody around your family that I've been around, they're great people. But tell me, how's your mother? How's her influence on your life made you the man that you are right now?
Her thumbprints all over my life. I think as a football player, people don't really realize the emotional roller coasters we go through, from the highs and lows of our career to even the week-to-week grind in the season. So seeing my mom and her spirituality and how she deals with things in life, and for a long time as a kid, my mom was so nice that I thought she was actually weak. But in actuality, I've come to understand as an adult that being able to turn the other cheek, be able to just put up and deal with things and not allow it to affect you or your family, it takes a lot of strength. And I really think a lot of my resolve comes from that, and her influence on my life and seeing her do it over the years. And it's probably why I've been able to thrive in situations most people probably would have ran from.
Well, I understand. I understand. Now let's get it on a little ball right now. You are one of the exclusive members of the 10,000 yard rushing club. You rushed for 10,000. I mean, 1,000 yards, and I don't know how many years. I know when I was there, you were rushing for 1,000 yards and things like that. Now, we were in St. Louis, it was some dark days. I would tell anybody. I'm
Yeah.
like, I love the city, I love the guys, but it was some dark days in St. Louis, and it seemed like the one constant that was in St. Louis was you. Everybody knew you were gonna get 1,000 yards to Steven Jackson. 4 yards a carry, 5+ touchdowns every single year. This is you're gonna get from. Now, tell me because I know you. Like I said, I know you very well, and I don't know a more competitive person than you. And tell me what kept you going through all those dark, not I won't say dark years because you were blessed enough to be a professional football player, live your dream out. But tell me what was the hardest thing going through all that losing and watching other teams who when you played against them, you had a chance to beat them, but it would always come down to maybe one play that you end up losing the game, and it seemed like it happened over and over again. Tell me what kept you going to the point where you know that you established yourself as one of the best running backs of your era, of your generation.
I think really thinking that, if I continue to run hard, I continue to ignite, and the work ethic of mine and the passion I have for the game will be infectious on my teammates as well as the community. And I just really took to that. Sometimes we just try to find a reason to do things, and that's the reason that I found was that if I really truly believe, and I still do actually, think that if you surround yourself with enough people doing the same thing with the same goal, it becomes infectious, and everyone wants to outdo each other. Everybody wants to, accomplish the same thing. So really, man, that's all I was really focused on, was just trying to be that pillar of strength to, not only lead the Rams to contention, but to make the community better, because there's a lot of hardworking people in St. Louis.
Uh-huh. Well, you like I said, you're first round back, drafted overall, 24th overall out of Oregon State. And when you get to St. Louis, there's a guy named Marshall Falk right there. So I'm sure you were like, okay, most first rounders when they come in, the first thing they said, I'm drafting first round, I'm going to be the starting running back for this team. But when St. Louis called you and your family, and you like, I know you're happy because everybody's happy to get drafted, but I know in the back of your mind you're like, well, Marshall Falk's there. So I mean, when you got to St. Louis, what was your first thought when you were knowing that you were going into a situation where they would call it the greatest show on turf, and you had a guy like a Hall of Famer that was right in front of you? What were some of the things that went through your mind to make yourself a better player, even though you were not getting the majority of the carries?
You're right. The first thing I thought was when I heard Coach Mike Marsh's voice was, why are you guys drafting me? I wasn't thinking, Marshall probably retired in a year or two. But the first thing I thought was, why are they drafting me? And the second thing was, how can I become an impact player and get myself on the field right away? And it was just going to be purely out of running hard, doing the things that Marshall didn't do at that time anymore. And I was like saying that if I need to just run up the middle and I need to do it with an attitude, I'll do that. Whatever niche I can find that I think Coach Mike Marshall used me is what I wanted to do and take advantage of. It was probably good for me to sit the first year and split time with Marshall my second season, because as a young 20-year-old, you really think you're an adult. You think you have life all figured out, and we all know you don't. But it was good that I didn't immediately become a starter right away, because I don't know if I'd be 10 years later, now looking back at it, I don't know if I'd still be in the NFL if that was the case.
And I think, you're about to go into year 11, right? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And the thing about it, it's really like maybe say 9.5, because like you said, you split carries. You didn't really carry the load until your third year. And I remember that year because you also caught 90 passes that year. I mean, it was amazing because I mean I knew you as a straight power back, and then when I looked at those numbers, and I'm like, this guy had 90 receptions too, and it blew me away. And with the consistency because every time that anybody would play St. Louis, the first thing and the only thing people probably said was, we got to stop 39. And I mean, I think you've seen 12-man boxes sometimes, and because it was like, we have to stop this guy. And for you to be able to consistently pound away, pound away, pound away, and tell me because I like I said, I know during the season, all those things you have certain rituals that you abide by and things like that. But in the off season, how do you like keep your body maintained? Because like I said, everybody knew that you were going to get the ball. Everybody knew that you were going to be the bell cow because that's pretty much you the only offensive weapon for especially after Torrey and Ike left. You were pretty much the guy who the whole offense centered around. So tell me, what do you do? Because you just turned 30, and everybody always says this is the twilight years of a running back in the NFL and all those things. Tell me, how do you keep your body to a point where you can take that pound year after year?
I consistently try to change my workout regime, and I also diet-wise. Like this last season, I talked to you and during my time there in Atlanta, was I adopted being gluten-free. And when I did that, I noticed that now one time that I needed to get in the cold tub, I noticed that inflammation from the games on Sunday, I wasn't as sore the next day, Monday, or even after a Thursday night game. And when you could continue to just change in your diet and your workouts, the body still finds a way to react to it. And I think a lot of times we as veteran players get so comfortable in our routine. This is what we've been doing since day one. It eventually catches up to us because we can go out, do what we want to do, and the next day we know how to do that routine like the back of our hand. But in my case, where I continue to tweak things, continue to change things up, and make the body react to new challenges, I think that's how I've been able to keep myself refreshed.
Okay, it makes sense. Especially like I said, at a running back age and everything, and like I said, you did so many great things in the St. Louis area, and then I know it was kind of hard for you to leave and everything. I remember talking to you, and it was to a point where a new coach, new regime, and I think they did a very classful thing by allowing you to go by, not trading you to somewhere you might not want to go, and being able to pick the team, and you chose the Atlanta Falcons. And I never said this to you, but I always kind of knew that this is where you were going to come anyways. But tell me, I mean, I know, coming off the year before, the Falcons, they were one of the best teams in the NFL. And I know that, you had great expectations this year. And I remember talking to my mother, everybody. I was like, I feel so bad for Steven and Tony because they all came back to make that. Steven came here and Tony came back to make this run. And for injury wise and things like that, that didn't come to fruition. Tell me, how did you deal with that? Because I know the reason you came here was to contend for a Super Bowl ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this season was probably one of the hardest seasons that I had. Probably.
Hold on. Harder than the last year's Spagnolia? It's harder than that?
That's what I'm going to say. So that's what I'm going to say. That being said,
did we win a game that year?
We won one. One game. And I was going to say, I know I was real close. That was real close. Thank God for field goals. But
yeah.
But the reason this year was real, in comparison, was tough because of those expectations that I had, and I think the Atlanta fans had. And when you come in with those such high expectations and you playing for a Super Bowl and to turn around and have a losing season, I felt like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I was cursed. I didn't know to cry, house fights, I didn't know what to do emotionally. And that's why it was really tough because I thought I had left the losing behind in St. Louis. And for it to follow me into Atlanta, I was really up in air on what to do next. And it was a tough year for me, but I was happy that I got healthy again toward the end of the year. I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and show the fan base of Atlanta, that, I can do this. And I was able to finish strong and sho what they thought they were getting, they still have, and it just was a bad year for us all, individually for me and the team as well.
And and like I was saying earlier, I know you, and I played with you, and I think we were great friends off the field just as much as we were on the field because you were always hanging out and everything like that, and I knew the competitiveness of you, and I just felt like and like I said, I look at you as my brother, and you would not know how many arguments I got, or me and Corey and the boys were out and they're talking about you, and I'm just like, you know what, you need to lay off my brother, and I didn't even look at you as Steven Jackson, the Atlanta Falcons. I was like, this is my brother you talking about, all right, and it's not his fault. But I know you're a team player and you take everything. You don't use injuries or the offensive line was in flux as an excuse. He's like, we just didn't get it done. And so, coming into this year, everybody's coming back, Julio and Julio's coming back healthy and hopefully I pray to God that Dimitrov can get you some old linemen in this draft because they did a good job beefing up the defensive line free agency. They need to go get some big boys up front now. And tell me, what are your expectations of this year? I don't want you to say, oh, I'm gonna rush for 1,000 yards and things like that. As Atlanta Falcons organization, what do you think should be the top priority for this team going into the 2014 season? Because you got Lovey, he's building his defense down in Tampa. You got Carolina with one of the best defenses in the league. New Orleans is always going to be there. So tell me, what do the Falcons need to do to compete with those other three teams in the NFC South?
You can hit it on the head. We got to become a more balanced offense. I think the Falcons overall have been so pass heavy, and they've been so dependent on the passing game that with everyone getting injured this year, it showed. It really is an ugly truth and an ugly head that we all knew. And I think if we get some guys up front off the line, become more balanced offense, we will be able to establish a lead with the guys outside, but allow for me to do my thing and hold the lead and run hard and close games out. And I think if we get those offensive linemen, which I believe we will, we could be able to get right back to where we should have been this year and where they were 2 years ago.
Oh, great point. Great point. Now, like I said, I was talking about your family other, we know about your father, how, him being a pit boss and all those things. I love your celebration dance. And, when you used to score, I used to do it with you a couple of times. I see your teammates doing it with you. Tell me, what made you make that your end zone dance? Because it's like whenever I watch your TV and when you score, I jump up, and Isaiah loves you. Isaiah used to wear a T-shirt on his head and put his helmet on because he was like he thought the T-shirt was his dreads, like Steven Jackson. And I'm looking, you got 62 touchdowns, 4 yards a carry, career average, 10,681 yards. Tell the viewer, the listeners, what was your if you can think about all the carries and everything, what was your favorite play that you've ever made in the National Football League?
Oh man, probably it was a game in 2007, and we were in Seattle, and I had a draw play from about 15 yards out, and I drug like 6 guys into the end zone with me, digging, fighting for the last 2 yards to get to the goal line. Helmets come flying off and everything, and it was one of those runs where I'm sure a lot of people in that stadium in Seattle thought for sure that my momentum would be stopped and the play was over. But for me to drag those guys to the end zone, it was one of those classic runs that just said that I won't allow anything in front of me to stop me. And it's one of my favorite highlights still to this day. I get pumped up when I see it still.
I'll tell you, my favorite play was playing with you it was in Seattle, and that was the summer where you had held out and everything. And we were in Seattle the first game, and you caught like a screen pass. And I mean, I was like, we were because we thought you would stop, and you kept running, and we were like, oh God, he's still running. So we running behind you, and you get tackled, and you come over, and you look at me like, whoa, should have held out, and ran to the sideline. Well, I mean, it was like a 1 yard pass you took for like 60 yards. That was one of my favorite plays. Before we let you go, just like I said, we want to thank you. Tell us a little bit about your foundations. Like I said, I know you're very active in the breast cancer and all those things. Tell us a little about some of the community activities that you have going on.
Yeah, so my foundation is the Steven Jackson Foundation. I formed it in 2004, and my mission is to combat children illiteracy. Really big on education, making sure that all our children get their right to having a great education and the support of, of people in their community to help them be the best that they can be. So I've been involved now with another foundation or another charitable called Little Bit, and it was funded and started in St. Louis, where we go into these schools and we get a little classroom and we call it the boutique. And in this boutique, children could come in and get backpacks over the weekends for food if they don't have the right nutrition at home. They could come in the boutique and get fresh clothes, so they don't have to be teased or feel ashamed of their appearance, and they can feel confident about themselves, so they can have a better day in school and get educated. And these are these outreach programs that I do, and I feel that it makes a huge impact in kids as far as education and in their confidence as a person. Because we all know once you have the confidence and you believe in yourself, you can achieve anything.
That's awesome, man. And like I said, I have one more question. I had just wrote this down. We both play with Richie, and we we both play with Richie, and we know Richie. Tell me, when you first heard the news about what happened down in Miami, and before they said any names or anything, and they were talking about the bullying, who was the first person that came to your mind? Because I know mine said Richie. Tell me, was that the first thing that came to your mind?
Yeah, I definitely said, what did Richie do now?
Said who the players were. Everybody was like, oh God, what Richie done did now.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Stephen A, man, I just want to thank you so much. I know, like I said, I know you got the boys, you got Sky and King out there in Vegas with you, man. And I want you to enjoy the boys, smack King upside their head for me, and thump Sky in the chest like I used to do him. And like I said, have a great off season. When you get back to Atlanta, make sure you hit me up. And once again, I just want to thank you. It's been a pleasure. And you take care. Tell your mother and everybody I say hello, okay, man?
I will, man. Thanks.
All right,
Man, I'm glad to see you doing your thing, man. Thank you.
Hey, man, I love you, man. Thanks a lot.